Welcome back to the kitchen at Andersen Acres. Tonight we are making a cookie, but not just any cookie, we are making a Snickerdoodle. The name Snickerdoodle has been used to describe a few different types of cookie in recent years, but traditionally it refers to a cinnamon-coated cookie that originated in New England. These are simple and quick to make, so if you're unexpectedly having people over, try serving these warm from the oven. They'll be a hit, I promise. Let's get started. First of all, you are going to need half a cup of butter or margarine. The defining flavor in this cookie is the cinnamon coating, so if you use margarine, that's okay. I still prefer butter, but you can use margarine. We're going to add to that 1.5 cups of sugar. You need the sugar. And we are going to take our electric beaters and just whir it up for a second. Now we're going to need some more wet ingredients. First of all, teaspoon of vanilla. And then we're going to need a couple of eggs before I drop everything. I like to crack my eggs in a separate bowl because, one, I'm really bad at cracking eggs. I'm really bad. And if I get shell in, it is so much easier to get the shell out if I've cracked them in an individual bowl, because then I'm not fishing through flour and sugar. There we go. So 2 eggs. These are all our wet ingredients. We're going to whir those together. Now, obviously, that's too wet for cookie dough, so we get to add our dry ingredients. First of all, we're going to do 2.25 cups of just your regular all-purpose flour. We're going to add to that 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar and half a teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, we don't need very much, just a little bit. We're also going to need just a little bit of salt. Okay, just a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean only about 1/4 teaspoon. You always want a little bit of salt. It helps enhance the flavor, but you don't need much. So just a little bit. Now we're only going to whir this up for a few seconds with this. Then we're going to switch to using our hands. All right, we're done with that mixer. Like always, I do like to mix cookie dough with my hands just because it ends up allowing me to control how mixed it is. If you overmix your dough, it becomes really chewy and tough, and you don't want tough cookies. You want soft cookies. So I like to work this with my hands. Okay, as long as your hands are clean. You're going to be touching the cookie dough with your hands anyway at some point. It's not that big a deal. While you're doing this, or probably before you start doing this, you are going to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? That allows you to bake these cookies fairly quick, but still thoroughly. If you bake them too high, the temperature's too high, you'll burn them. If it's too low, they're going to take forever. Okay, so definitely make sure you're around 400. You could probably do 375, but I like to cook these particular cookies at 400. I find that turns out best. Use your dough to get the flour off the sides, and you'll feel when that dough is fully incorporated. Don't take it past the point where you're fully incorporated. Okay, don't mix it more than you have to. You don't want it tough. You want it mixed. You want it well combined. You do not want your dough tough. That's why I stopped using the mixer. I like to do it by hand. So I'm going to take a minute to wash my hands before we proceed. All right, I'm back. Move that to the side. You're going to go and get your cookie sheet. You're going to line your cookie sheet either with parchment paper, not wax paper. Wax paper burns. Either parchment paper or I'm using a silicone liner. You can do that. Don't use tinfoil. Tinfoil will stick to the bottom of the cookies. So what we're going to also do, we are going to need a small bowl. This bowl has 2 tablespoons of sugar and 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. So it's just half cinnamon, half sugar. Okay? That's all it is. You're going to take about a teaspoon or a little more, roughly around there, of dough. Roll it into a little ball. Okay, so it's about 1 inch thick. And you're going to toss it in your cinnamon mixture. Okay? Then we are going to place it on the cookie sheet, just like so. And then we're just going to keep doing that until we have filled up our pan. Okay? We're just going to keep doing that. And you're going to place them a couple inches apart on your cookie sheet. Okay? So you're going to lift it up gently. Put them a couple inches apart because they do spread a little bit and you don't want them to end up touching each other, right? You want them to be separate individual cookies. Okay? Let's give them a toss. Very, very gentle. Be gentle. You don't want to squish them. Okay? Nice and gentle. I'm going to keep doing this. Then we are going to bake them for 10 minutes. Okay? 10 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So instead of having you watch me roll all of these, just know that I'm putting them in the oven as soon as my pan is full, and we will be baking them for 10 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll be back the very second they come out of the oven. All right, we're about 10 seconds from the oven timer going off. You're going to hear that in about 5 seconds now. And then we will whip them out of the oven. There it goes. And this is what they should look like when they come out of the oven. Just like that, okay? They really get this cool pattern on them. And that cool pattern is really what you're after. The cinnamon kind of cracks open as the cookie expands. That's why you got the baking soda. And what you're going to do, carefully pull these off as soon as you can. Okay, you might have to wait a couple of minutes. I try not to because the faster you get them off, the better for the cookie. They need to stop cooking. Okay, so get them off so they stop cooking or they'll end up overcooked. They need to be soft and delicious inside. And we are going to end up coming back when they're fully cool because you don't want to bite into these when they're super hot. You can serve them warm, but you don't want to bite into them when they're super hot. So we will come back just as soon as these guys are cool enough to eat and to put on a plate. We'll be back in a moment. And just like that, easy, delicious Snickerdoodle cookies. Delicious cinnamon outside, beautiful insides. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Let me know if you enjoy Snickerdoodles. We'll see you tomorrow.